Hey everyone, Pugs here with two new reviews for y'all. Today I'm covering Sharks vs. Pods and CopyBob DittoPants. These are another couple of episodes that are very representative of Season 9B for me. Like, when I think of Season 9B, these are some of the episodes that first come to mind. Now, whether that has to do more with their memorability, my opinion of them, or them actually being representative of the season is anyone's guess, because I don't know either. As always, thank you all for watching the video today, and now let's just get right into it. We're finally at an episode that I've been pretty excited to cover, and that's Sharks vs. Pods. I'll just spoil it now, I guess. I've always adored this episode. Like, for many years, it was my favorite modern SpongeBob episode. I'm not gonna say whether that's true today, mostly because I don't remember, but also, this isn't even modern SpongeBob anymore. It's been like 10 years. Post-sequel SpongeBob still applies as a category, though. But anyway, the point is, I like this episode a lot, and so I'm gonna be talking about why. The first thing I really love about Sharks vs. Pods is its atmosphere. The music choices for this episode really set the mood, and the designs of the characters only further immerse us into that stereotypical 1950s, 1960s greaser subculture vibe. Even the dialogue and voice acting only further brings us to that point. I love all the wordplay in this episode, and the voice acting is great. Both of these things really help to flesh these new characters out. And speaking of the new characters, I really like them. The Sharks are just a funny group. I especially loved every time they brought up Johnny and got so freaking dramatic about it. Too funny. Sharks vs. Pods begins with SpongeBob getting his groove on during closing time at the Krusty Krab. The Sharks pull up and see SpongeBob dancing through the window, and they immediately ask SpongeBob to join them, and so SpongeBob agrees. I like how this episode doesn't try to make us think that the Sharks are a criminal type of gang. At least not at first. It's just our own associations that we make with people emulating the greaser subculture that lead us to assume, much like SpongeBob does later on, that they're up to criminal activities. And I suppose those of us who've been watching the show for a while also watched Whatever Happened to SpongeBob, and so saw the bubble poppin' boys. I'm sure that also could have been a contributing factor. But anyway, so SpongeBob joins the Sharks and goes with them on a ride through Bikini Bottom, where he starts getting a bit suspicious of the crew he's just agreed to join, because he starts seeing admittedly very suspicious things, like when the Sharks stop at a red light and a bunch of girls playing next to the road scream about the Sharks being there and then end up fainting. Fangirl is certainly not the first thing I thought of when seeing that, which is of course the point. And also Sharkface getting testy when SpongeBob was concerned about the girls, like, okay sir. Or when the food vendor just says the Sharks can have anything they want from their stand and literally throws the food at the Sharks. For the sake of deception, the episode makes the guy sound really scared when in reality it probably would have been more ambiguous, but I understand the episode needed to take some artistic liberties, let's say, to carry on the ruse. And then, of course, there's the fact that the Sharks were banned from Hal and Martin, which we can only assume is a bar/club, for wrecking the place the last time they were there. And who could forget the very suspect rivalry with the Pods? I don't blame SpongeBob for coming to the conclusion that the Sharks are a dangerous bunch. Especially not after they literally kidnap Gary. Or at least it appears that way. Man, that's twice now that SpongeBob has received a stereotypical ransom note that actually turned out not to be that at all. Love this kind of misunderstanding, it's hilarious. But since SpongeBob thinks that the Sharks have kidnapped Gary, he gets ready to go to the showdown so that he can get him back. I love SpongeBob's greaser look, it's both hilarious and adorable, and when SpongeBob pulls up to the showdown ready to fight the Pods, this is when we find out the truth, that the Sharks and the Pods aren't rival gangs, but rival dance crews. Which, by the way, the group of squids being called the Pods is brilliant, and their snapping being their pods unsticking is also brilliant. Squidward also turns out to be a member of the Pods, which, given that it's a dance group, isn't surprising. The explanation for everything SpongeBob misinterpreted is great because I love how sensible, yet improbable the explanations are. Except for Gary being a DJ, that I believe. As for the actual dance battle, I love this part of the episode. I love seeing all these dance styles and sequences, not to mention plot twist after plot twist with the police being in on this dance thing, followed by internal affairs. All of this is hilarious. It also reminds me a lot of I Heart Dancing. And then when Mr. Krabs suddenly shows up and announces the sharks as the winners, at this point it's how many random things can we fit into the end of the episode? Because then Patrick comes in and says that line that I'm sure is a reference to something about saving the rec center, and that's great too. Yeah, I really liked Sharks vs. Pods. This episode is just a lot of fun, and I think it really uses its one off characters well. The atmosphere of this episode is palpable and it makes it easy to remember, which is frequently a win in my book. And this episode is also just really funny, so that's another great sign. Really, there's not much else for me to say, and so I'm gonna go ahead and put this episode in my amazing tier, where it comes in with a score of 9.4 out of 10. CopyBob DittoPants is a fun little episode with a very simple plot. And I mean very simple. It's one of those episodes where shenanigans make up the bulk of the runtime, and I do love me some shenanigans. This episode also understandably reminds me a lot of that one Gravity Falls episode where Dipper makes a bunch of clones of himself. Clone episodes like this are certainly not rare in cartoons, so it's not a shock that I could easily think of another one like this. There was also one in My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, I remember. I'm honestly surprised it took this long for SpongeBob SquarePants to take its own crack at this kind of plot. This episode starts out in a very cute way with SpongeBob, Plankton, and Karen all partying and having a good time. Y'all already know how I feel about the SpongeBob and Plankton dynamic. I went on and on about it during my review of Plankton's Pet, so no need to rehash any of that here. But I will say that I do enjoy them having a good time together like this. And I like that Karen is there too. Of course, it becomes clear pretty quickly that this party is just a ruse for Plankton to initiate his newest plan to steal the Krabby Patty secret formula, but listen, there were other ways he could have done this that didn't involve having a good time with SpongeBob. Now yes, obviously it was done like this because the whole point was making these copy jokes, and that doesn't work so well if Plankton simply has some sci-fi cloning machine. Alright, well now I'm just overthinking all of this like way too much, so let me get back on track. So, Plankton's plan in this episode is making a clone of SpongeBob so that the clone can learn the secret formula and bring it back to Plankton. And so the rest of the episode consists of the many ways this plan fails. But I must admit, out of all of the Plankton schemes we've seen over the years, this is definitely one of the smarter ones. But of course, once clone SpongeBob, or Sponge Clone as I'm going to call him, meets the real SpongeBob, well, let's just say that Sponge Clone ends up being contaminated. But this is all very entertaining. Like, I love the way Squidward promptly loses it when the two SpongeBobs get together, because him becoming hysterical like this is always entertaining to watch. And also, I just keep thinking of a Sparta remix that I found a long time ago whenever I see this part of the episode. Since Sponge Clone meets SpongeBob, Plankton is unable to get any information out of him, since he now understands that he can't tell Plankton the formula. Also, he got a really cute nickname, Me Too. Plankton realizes that if a SpongeBob clone gets into contact with the original SpongeBob, he won't tell Plankton the formula. So when Plankton makes another clone, Sponge Clone 2, because I don't know how else I'm going to name him, he specifically instructs the clone not to interact with any SpongeBobs. In the meantime, Mr. Krabs is committing labor violations. So basically, this is just a normal day at the Krusty Krab. The rest of the episode just turns into Plankton trying and failing to make sponge clones that will tell him the formula, because they all end up interacting with each other and refusing to tell him. And all of this is accompanied with Squidward becoming more and more hysterical as the SpongeBobs continue to multiply, and this carries most of the humor in this episode, although there are some other great jokes here and there. Things only get more chaotic when Plankton decides to create a blitzkrieg of Bobs, which I love that bit of dialogue, and all of these clones turn out to be hard workers like SpongeBob, and so they end up doing all of his jobs for him. Honestly, this episode starts getting kind of macabre, but in a hilarious way here, as all of the clones start fading away due to Plankton's use of cheap toner, meaning that Plankton yet again fails to get the formula despite his best efforts. Poor SpongeBob loses all of his new friends, and it's played with such great comedy and drama. Also, I loved the bit with Patrick here, and the end is funny and cute too, with Plankton basically complimenting SpongeBob by saying he's better as the original. Cute. The last thing I want to mention about this episode is actually the first thing about it, its title card. More specifically, the title card music. When I originally did the written review for this episode back in 2023, this title card was the last time that my favorite track in the SpongeBob OST, Traveling Along, had been used in the show. I'm happy to say that this is no longer the case, as a season 14 episode used it, but this was the last time this track appeared in the show for a long time, literally 8 years, so still something I feel like pointing out here. Man, I really do love this track, and it's only been used 5 times. The pain of it all. CopyBob DittoPants was a great and enjoyable and funny episode. Like, I really don't have any complaints at all, and there's not much I can say about this one other than that either. It's just a nice episode to sit down and watch, especially after a long day because of its simplicity. It was also low-key emotional, which was unexpected, and so all in all, I'd say this episode is worthy of my amazing tier, where it comes in with a score of 9.3 out of 10. As always, I'll be ending this video with some closing thoughts of mine. These two episodes, although they may not be the best of the season, kind of have a special place in my heart for no discernible reason other than they do. Well, I guess Sharks vs. Pods was just an episode that stuck out to me for a decade, and CopyBob DittoPants for a long time was the final episode to use my favorite track in the show, so I suppose that's probably why. This week, as in the week that I write this script, was a very difficult one for me when it comes to being able to concentrate and put the energy towards doing my videos. That's why this will be the only video this week, unless I somehow get the time to make another one, but that's doubtful. It's also possible I'll be doing this again next week, as I'm nearing the end of my How to Get Away with Murder rewatch, and so I'd like to watch season 15 of SpongeBob, but we'll see. I'm just playing things by ear and trying to use my limited time wisely. And I think that's enough about me, so I'm going to go ahead and close things out here, and I'll see y'all in the next review.